Chosen one, heaven has pressed pause on you right now. Everything else may feel like it can wait, but this moment cannot. The Spirit has reached into your timeline, into the noise of your scrolling, into the heaviness of your thoughts, and whispered, "Stop. Listen. This is not coincidence. You are not here by chance. You are not hearing these words as background noise. This is an appointment written in eternity. You see, when God stops you, it is never to waste your time. It is because there is a message too urgent, too costly, too divine, to let slip away. Imagine standing on a train platform. Trains roar past. People rush by. But suddenly one conductor points directly at you and says, "This seat is yours. This journey is prepared for you." That is what heaven is doing right now. You have felt the weight of life pressing down. There were nights where your pillow caught the tears no one else ever saw. Days where you carried burdens on your back and smiled so no one would know the pain. There were times you wanted to quit. Yet somehow, you kept going. That somehow was not your strength. That was God's hand. Invisible but undeniable, pulling you through. And now, here you are called to listen. Called to remember that you are chosen, not ordinary, not forgotten, not replaceable. Chosen. That word echoes in eternity with your name attached to it. You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to vanish in the crowd. Your life has a seal on it. Listen carefully. Every chosen one goes through divine interruptions. Abraham was interrupted when he was asked to leave his homeland. Moses was interrupted in the wilderness when a bush caught fire but was not consumed. Mary was interrupted by an angel with news that would shake history itself. And now, you are being interrupted not because you are small, but because you are destined for something greater than you can imagine. Let me give you an image. Picture a great artist, brush in hand, working on a canvas. To the untrained eye, it looks incomplete, messy, even chaotic. But the artist knows every stroke matters, every pause matters, every layer is leading to a masterpiece. Your life is that canvas. You see chaos. God sees the masterpiece, and this interruption is His way of adding the next layer of beauty. As the prophet wrote in the book of Hosea, chapter 6, verse 3, "Let us press on to know the Lord. His coming is as sure as the dawn." See how certain it is. The dawn cannot be stopped, no matter how long the night. And so your trial, your delay, your silence, it is not the end. The Lord's appearing. His answer, His breakthrough for you is just as certain as the sun rising again. And so I tell you, heaven is asking you to respond. Do not just listen passively. Step into the flow. If this message resonates, let it be known. Like this message, share it with someone who needs hope. Subscribe so you never miss another divine interruption. And in the comments, write the number 6, a prophetic reminder that this is a season of pressing in, of knowing the Lord deeper, of walking into His dawn. This is not small. This is not random. This is your moment. Step in. You have carried battles no one else has seen. The world looks at your smile, at the way you keep moving forward, and they think you are fine. But deep within, you know the weight of silent struggles, the nights where you wrestled with questions, wondering if God was still near, the mornings where you rose exhausted, yet determined not to let the heaviness consume you. The unseen battles are the hardest ones. Anyone can notice a scar on the skin, but not everyone can recognize the wounds that bleed in the soul. You have walked with those hidden aches, the disappointments you never spoke aloud, the rejection that cut deeper than words could tell. And though others may not have noticed, heaven noticed. Every sigh, every whispered prayer, every tear that fell when no one was around, none of it escaped the gaze of the one who sees all. Think of Hannah, who prayed silently in the temple, misunderstood by Eli as if she were drunk. No one around her saw the depth of her pain, but God saw, and the silent prayer she poured out became the seed of Samuel, the prophet who would anoint kings. What looks like weakness to the world becomes a testimony in God's timing. Your hidden battles are not wasted. They are not meaningless. They are being recorded in heaven as evidence of your perseverance. Sometimes you wonder why the storms rage more fiercely in your life than in others, why the weight seems heavier on your shoulders. But chosen ones are refined differently. The furnace is hotter, the trial deeper, the silence longer, not to destroy you, but to shape you. Let me give you an image. Imagine a diamond buried deep in rock. The pressure it endures is unimaginable. The crushing weight, the hidden darkness, the years of waiting beneath the earth. Yet, when the diamond is finally revealed, it carries a brilliance no ordinary stone can match. That is what your hidden struggles are doing, pressing you, refining you, preparing you to shine in a way that ordinary lives cannot. You might not even realize it, but your endurance has already terrified the enemy. He thought you would have broken by now. He thought those sleepless nights, those betrayals, those unanswered prayers would have silenced your faith. Yet here you are, still standing, still listening, still reaching for God. That is evidence of victory already taking root. The writings of David remind us in the book of Psalms, chapter 56, verse 8, "You have kept count of my tossings, put my tears in your bottle. Are they not in your book?" Every restless night, every tear, every ache, it has been collected, not discarded. Heaven does not ignore what you carry in silence. The bottle of God is not symbolic, it is eternal proof that your suffering is known, measured, and remembered. And there is another truth. Hidden battles create hidden strength. Muscles grow in resistance. Roots grow deep in drought. And faith grows strongest in the silence of waiting. Others may only see the surface. But you know the trenches you have walked through. You know the valleys where it was just you and God. That secret history with Him is what makes you different. Chosen one. Your silent battles have not disqualified you. They have marked you. They are shaping the kind of vessel heaven can trust with greater assignments. For the Lord does not build His warriors in palaces, but in caves. He does not train His prophets in comfort, but in wilderness. And He has allowed your private struggles to forge you into someone darkness cannot easily move. The pain you thought was breaking you is actually proving you. And the very pages of heaven are being filled with your testimony, one tear, one prayer, one step at a time. You have been misunderstood. You have been overlooked. People have labeled you according to what they could see on the surface, never realizing the depth of the calling within you. And sometimes, the rejection stung so sharply that you wondered if you had lost your way. But the truth is this: rejection is not evidence that you are forgotten. It is confirmation that you are marked. Consider Joseph. His brothers despised him because of the dreams God planted in his heart. They threw him into a pit, sold him into slavery, and lied to their father about his fate. To them, Joseph was disposable. To God, Joseph was essential. What they rejected became the very instrument of their salvation. The stone the builders refused became the cornerstone. So it is with you. If you have been ignored, mocked, or pushed aside, you are in good company. It was the misunderstood ones, the despised ones, the rejected ones whom God elevated. The rejection did not close your door. It directed your steps to the place of destiny. Let me give you an image. Imagine an arrow being drawn back. To anyone watching, it looks like the arrow is moving backward, away from the target. But the pull is not punishment. It is preparation. The further it is pulled, the greater its speed, the sharper its flight, the more unstoppable its impact. That is what rejection is doing in your life. The hand of God is pulling you back, not to end you, but to launch you farther than you ever imagined. The apostle reminds us in his first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 1, verse 27, God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. This is the divine pattern. What the world calls foolish, God calls chosen. What the world discards, heaven crowns. You are not overlooked. You are strategically positioned. Do not despise being misunderstood. The ones who cannot see your worth are not meant to carry your destiny. Their rejection is a filter. It removes the wrong hands, so God can place you in the right ones. If Joseph had been accepted by his brothers, he would never have entered Pharaoh's palace. If David had been honored by his family, he might never have faced Goliath. Misunderstanding pushes chosen ones into divine encounters. Now here is what I want you to do. Comment, tested but chosen. Why? Because every trial you endured, every misunderstanding you survived, every rejection you carried, it is not evidence of failure. It is proof that you have been tested and still stand. Writing, tested but chosen, is your way of agreeing with God's narrative over your life. You are not cast aside. You are set apart. Even if the world doubts you, even if people dismiss you, your own declaration stands as evidence. Misunderstanding may sting, but it cannot redefine. Only God holds the pen to write your story, and He has already written, chosen, So lift your head. Remember the arrow. Remember Joseph. Remember the words of Corinthians. What others call weakness, God calls strength. And what others cannot see in you, heaven has already confirmed. And the truth is this: rejection is a doorway, not a dead end. What feels like loss is really redirection. Your tears are seeds. Your silence is soil. And soon, what God planted in you will bloom in front of those who once doubted you. Every promotion in the kingdom is preceded by a test. This is the rhythm of God's design, a truth woven into the stories of Scripture and the journeys of those who walked before you. No blessing comes without a proving. No crown rests without a trial of faith. Abraham was tested when asked to lay Isaac on the altar. It was not about the child, it was about the heart. Would Abraham trust God's voice even when the command seemed impossible? In that obedience, the promise was sealed. The test opened the door to the blessing. Israel was tested in the wilderness, freed from Egypt, but not yet in the land of promise. They wandered. The desert was not punishment, it was a proving ground. The wilderness revealed what was in their hearts, fear or faith, complaint or trust. The 40 years were not wasted years. They were testing years. And Jesus himself was tested in the wilderness. After the heavens opened at his baptism and the Spirit descended, he was led into the desert to face temptation. Before the ministry began, before the miracles unfolded, before the cross was carried, there was the test. It is always this way, before promotion. Approving. Look at your own life. The battles that press against you, the silence that weighs on you, the disappointments that sting, these are not random accidents. They are divine tests, not tests designed to fail you, but to refine you. The test is not meant to expose your weakness, but to reveal the strength that God has planted within you. Here is an image for you. Think of a bridge. Before that bridge carries the weight of travelers. It is tested. Pressure is applied. Weight is increased. Engineers watch closely for cracks, not because they want the bridge to fail, but because they want it to be proven safe, strong, reliable. In the same way, God allows pressure on your life, not to break you, but to prove that you are strong enough to carry the assignment He is entrusting to you. The ancient words recorded in the book of Romans, chapter 5, verse 3 to 4, still echo today. We glory in tribulations, knowing that tribulation produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. Oh, do you see the progression? Tribulation is not the end. It is the beginning of a chain reaction. Hardship produces perseverance. Perseverance builds character. Character births hope. And hope never disappoints because it is anchored in God. Every test is constructing something eternal inside of you. Your test is not punishment. It is preparation. You are being shaped for responsibility, sharpened for impact, and stretched for glory. Without the test, the blessing would crush you. With the test, you become able to carry it. Think again of Joseph. Before the palace, there was the pit. Before the robe of authority, there were chains of slavery. Before interpreting Pharaoh's dreams, there were long nights forgotten in prison. Each stage looked like failure to the human eye, but to heaven, each stage was a test leading to elevation. So, if you feel stretched, pressed, or even broken, know this: you are being tested for something greater than you can see. The weight is evidence of the calling. The silence is evidence of trust. The fire is evidence of refining. Tests are never comfortable, but they are always necessary. Without them, the chosen remain unprepared. With them, the chosen emerge, unstoppable. And soon, the very test you are walking through will become your testimony. What feels heavy now will one day feel holy. What seems unbearable now will one day look beautiful. For promotion is waiting on the other side, and heaven is watching to see if you will endure the proving ground of faith. Delay is not denial. You have waited long. You have prayed long. You have seen others move ahead while you stood still. And somewhere deep in your heart, a question whispered, "Has God forgotten me?" But delay is not the end. It is the womb of preparation. A seed does not sprout the moment it touches soil. It stays hidden, silent, unseen. Days pass, weeks pass, and still there is no sign of life. Yet, deep in the dark, the seed is splitting open, roots are digging down, and strength is forming that no eye can see. In time, the green shoot breaks through, not a second late, not a second early, perfectly timed. That is your life. You are not behind schedule, you are in process. Heaven is not late, it is aligning. You may feel like you are waiting endlessly, but what you call waiting, God calls weaving. He is stitching your story together in ways you cannot yet imagine. Think of Noah. God told him to build an ark when there was no rain. He built and waited. He endured the mockery of those who could not see what he carried. And then, one day, the heavens opened. The delay was not wasted. The delay was the stage for the glory. Think of David, anointed as king while still a shepherd boy. Yet he returned to the fields. Years passed. Battles raged. Enemies pursued. He sang psalms in caves and cried tears on the battlefield. But when the crown finally touched his head, it was not too soon. The delay had forged in him the strength of a true king. According to what is revealed in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarry. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not delay." Oh, this is the heartbeat of heaven. The vision may linger, but it will not be late. What God has promised will arrive on schedule. The wait is not punishment, it is precision. Here is an image. Imagine a great symphony. The violins rest. The drums hold. The horns remain silent. It feels like emptiness. But in reality, the conductor is setting the stage for the crescendo. At the perfect moment, the instruments rise together, and the silence becomes part of the beauty. Your waiting is not wasted, it is music in God's hands. And now, chosen one, I want to speak gently to your heart. If this word has touched you, let your response be like the lifting of a lantern into the night sky. When people release lanterns, they do not do it because they are forced. They do it as an act of hope, of faith, of beauty. So let your action be the same. If you feel the weight of this message, lift it into the sky with your hands. Press the like. Let your light join with others. Share this word as though you were passing a torch to someone still sitting in the dark. Subscribe as though you were saying, "I will walk with this family of faith into what God is doing next." Do not see it as duty. See it as worship. See it as part of the song. Every click, every share, every decision is not forced. It is an offering, like lanterns rising. It is your way of saying, "I believe the delay is not denial. I trust the vision will come." And just as lanterns gather in the sky, forming a tapestry of light, your choice adds to the beauty of this divine moment. You are standing at a crossroads, not just a casual choice, not just another day, but a moment that heaven has carved into the timeline of your life. Crossroads are sacred. They demand decision. To stand too long is to risk losing the direction. To walk the wrong way is to drift into delay. But to step with God is to enter destiny. The crossroads have always been places of testing for the chosen. Israel stood at the edge of the promised land and trembled when the spies brought back fearful reports. They could have entered, but doubt paralyzed them. That choice birthed 40 years of wandering. Ruth stood at a crossroads when Naomi urged her to return home. One decision to stay or to go, shifted her from obscurity into the lineage of the Messiah. And now you stand at yours. It may not look dramatic. It may be wrapped in ordinary days, hidden behind simple choices, covered in silence. But make no mistake, your choice in this season is shaping your tomorrow. The Spirit is whispering, do not waver, do not delay. Choose life, choose obedience, choose destiny. Think of it like a fork in the road, deep within a forest. One path is wide, worn smooth by many feet, but it leads only to shadows. The other is narrow, almost hidden, tangled with branches. Few walk it, but it carries light at the end. That is the road of the chosen. It looks harder, but it leads to glory. The letter to the Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 36, speaks this truth. You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what He has promised. Aula, perseverance is the key at the crossroads. Not convenience, not comfort, perseverance. To keep walking when the road feels heavy, to keep obeying when silence stretches, to keep believing when vision blurs. The promise is on the other side, but only for those who step forward. Every chosen one feels the tension here, the temptation to turn back, the urge to settle for less, the whisper that says, it's easier to quit. But you are not made for quitting. You are not wired for surrender. You are marked for perseverance. Remember this, the crossroads is not a trap. It is an invitation. God does not test to trick you. He tests to reveal what He already placed inside you. The choice before you is simply a mirror of the strength He has already built in you. And here is what I want you to do now. Let your decision echo in the spiritual realm. Write it in a single number. Comment 8. Why the number 8? Because in the language of heaven, 8 symbolizes new beginnings. To choose obedience at the crossroads is to step into a new chapter, a fresh start, a door you have never walked through before. When you write 8, you are saying, I am ready for the new. I will not stay in circles. I will step forward into promise. Do not see it as a small act. See it as a declaration. The same way Ruth's quiet choice became history, your small step of agreement carries eternal weight. The crossroads may feel intimidating, but heaven is with you. So lift your eyes. Do not fear the narrow road. Do not tremble at the shadows. Walk forward, because every step at the crossroads is a step into destiny. Mercy is still holding the door for you. That door should have closed by now. If justice alone ruled, it would already be locked. But mercy lingers. Mercy stands in the doorway, hand stretched out, whispering, not yet. Not for this one. Give them space to return. Think of Israel again. Again and again. They turned away from God. They built idols, chased after foreign gods, and forgot the covenant. Yet time after time, the prophets cried out, and the Lord withheld His full judgment. Mercy was holding the door. Mercy is not weakness. Mercy is power restrained. It is love that chooses patience. It is God's heart saying, I want you home more than I want to punish you. And right now, you are living in the stretch of that mercy. There is a danger. Though mercy is not forever ignored, the longer one resists, the fainter the voice becomes, until silence takes its place. Scripture gives warnings about hearts becoming hardened, ears becoming deaf, eyes becoming blind. To treat mercy casually is to risk losing the ability to hear when it calls again. Let me give you an image. Picture a lamp burning in the night. The oil is low. The flame flickers, but it is still there. It is still giving light. This is mercy still burning, still waiting, still holding space. But if the oil is ignored, if the flame is not tended, the darkness will eventually swallow it. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 31, verse 3. I have loved you with an everlasting love. I have drawn you with unfailing kindness. Lam, this is mercy, everlasting love, unfailing kindness, not a weak affection, but a love that pursues, that stretches, that reaches even when you resist. Mercy is God's hand extended in kindness, saying, return. The door is still open, and yet that door is not a plaything. It is a sacred gift. Every day it stays open is a day of opportunity. Every breath you take is a reminder. Mercy is still present. To waste that time is to risk losing it. To honor that time is to step through the door and into life. Think of the prodigal son. He wasted everything, his inheritance, his dignity, his strength. But when he turned back, mercy ran to meet him. The father did not wait at the door with folded arms. He ran down the road, robe in hand, ring ready, feast prepared. That is mercy in motion. But imagine if the son never returned. Imagine if he kept running deeper into his own ruin. Mercy would still ache for him, but the house would remain empty of his presence. The invitation was always there. The door was always open, but the choice belonged to him. So it is with you. The mercy that holds the door is not casual, it is urgent. It says, come now. Do not delay. Do not assume tomorrow. Do not treat lightly what heaven is offering today. Chosen one, feel the weight of that truth. Mercy is not absence of consequence. It is postponement of consequence. It is not ignoring justice. It is giving space for repentance. And in that space, destinies are rewritten. In that space, chains are broken. In that space, lives are restored. The door still stands open. The flame still flickers. The invitation is still alive. What you do with this mercy will echo far beyond this moment. Darkness fears you more than you realize. It is not because of who you are in your own strength, but because of the light you carry. When the Spirit of God rests upon a chosen one, it is as if a torch is set ablaze in the night. Darkness trembles, not at your weakness, but at the flame of His presence within you. You may not feel powerful. You may look at yourself and see only fragility. Yet even a single candle breaks the hold of a room full of shadows. The smallest spark announces the end of night. That is the reality of your presence in the world. You disrupt the plans of the enemy without even trying. Think of the boy David standing before Goliath. To the army of Israel, Goliath was a terror, a giant impossible to defeat. But to David, he was nothing compared to the name of the Lord Almighty. David did not come in armor. He came in faith, and that faith burned so brightly that darkness fell before him. Think of Paul and Silas in prison, their feet chained, their backs beaten, their bodies weary. Yet at midnight they lifted a song. The darkness of the dungeon could not hold back the light of praise. Chains fell, doors opened, and even the jailer himself was transformed. That is the power of the light. You carry it turns prisons into sanctuaries. Here is an image. Imagine walking into a cave so deep that no sunlight has ever touched it. At first, the darkness feels overwhelming, almost alive. But then, with a single strike of flint, a small flame appears. Instantly, the atmosphere shifts. Shadows scatter to the walls. The cave has not changed, but the presence of light has declared dominion. That is what happens when you step into spaces filled with despair. Darkness fears your arrival because it knows the flame you bear will not be extinguished. The Word of God declares in the book of Nahum, chapter 1, verse 5, "The mountains quake before him, and the hills melt away. The earth trembles at his presence, the world and all who live in it." No, if creation itself trembles at his presence, what can darkness do against one in whom his presence dwells? Mountains quake, hills melt, earth trembles. So surely the schemes of the enemy collapse in the face of the Spirit that rests upon you. This is why your life has been under such attack. The enemy fears what you will become if you keep standing, if you keep believing, if you keep carrying that flame. Opposition is not proof of weakness, it is proof of power. Resistance is evidence that your very existence unsettles darkness. And though you may have walked through nights that felt unbearable, remember this: the darker the night, the brighter the light shines. A lighthouse does not prove its strength in daylight, but in the fiercest storm. So too, your faith becomes a weapon when the night is deepest. Chosen one, never underestimate the authority you carry. The Spirit within you is not a flicker that can be snuffed out. It is an eternal flame, kindled by heaven itself. And wherever that flame burns, darkness loses its grip. So lift your eyes. Stand firm. Know that the battles around you are not signs of defeat, but signs that darkness recognizes the threat you are to its kingdom. You are light. You are flame. And the night has no choice but to tremble before you. The enemy always fights hardest when his time is shortest. When breakthrough is near, resistance intensifies. The storm before dawn is often the darkest, and that is what you have been feeling: an escalation of pressure, a sudden surge of attacks, waves crashing against your spirit. It is not proof that you are losing. It is proof that the enemy sees what is coming. He cannot stop the hand of God, but he hopes to exhaust you before you see the promise fulfilled. His last attempt is always the loudest. Think of Pharaoh. When Moses demanded freedom, Pharaoh hardened his heart again and again. Each plague shook Egypt. But when the final moment came, Pharaoh unleashed his fury one last time, chasing Israel to the edge of the sea. The people thought they were trapped, but the sea split, and the army that pursued them was swallowed whole. The last attempt became the final defeat. Think of Jesus on the cross. Darkness gathered, mocking voices rose, and the enemy thought victory was secured. Yet even as Christ breathed his last, the plan of salvation was unfolding. The grave itself could not hold him. The last attempt of hell became the doorway to eternal triumph. Here is an image for you. Picture a storm battering against a lighthouse. The winds scream. The waves strike. Lightning rips through the sky. Yet the light does not flicker. The structure does not fall. The storm is loud, but it is temporary. The lighthouse stands, declaring that the night will end. That is who you are in this season. The noise is not the end. It is the enemy's desperation. According to what is revealed in the book of Proverbs, chapter 24, verse 16, "For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. But the wicked stumble when calamity strikes. The enemy may hope you will fall and stay down, but heaven declares otherwise. You may stumble, but you will rise. You may feel weary, but you are not finished. The righteous are not defined by the fall, but by the rising. Do not be deceived by the intensity of this last attempt. The harder the enemy pushes, the closer your breakthrough stands. Opposition is confirmation. Pressure is prophecy. And the storm raging around you is simply proof that dawn is already breaking. Now, I want you to make a declaration. Write it where you are, as a witness to heaven and as defiance to hell. Comment: final blow failed. End. Why? Because when you write it, you are testifying that the enemy's strongest strike did not end you. His last attempt has already failed. You are here, alive, listening, filled with faith. That phrase is not just text on a screen, it is a banner over your life. A banner that says, hell tried its worst, and heaven still prevailed. Chosen one, take courage. The storm is loud, but the sea is about to part. The cross looked final, but resurrection was already written. This is not the end. The last attempt is only the sound of the enemy collapsing under the weight of God's unstoppable promise. And hear me clearly. If the enemy's final blow has already failed, then your future is not fragile, it is secure. What once terrified you will become your testimony. What once threatened you will become your triumph. Darkness has emptied its arsenal, and you remain unchained, unbroken, and unafraid. Every hardship you've walked through has not been wasted. The losses, the tears, the betrayals, the long nights of questioning, these were not random accidents. They were part of heaven's training ground. Chosen ones are not shaped in ease, but in fire. And what feels like breaking is actually building. Think of a blacksmith. He takes raw metal, places it into fire, hammers it again and again. To the untrained eye, it looks like destruction, but every strike is shaping. Every flame is purifying. Every pressure is preparing the metal for strength and purpose. That is what God has been doing in your life. The fire is not to consume you, it is to form you. Think of a vineyard. Before the grapes produce sweet wine, the branches must be pruned. Cutting feels painful, but without it, there is no abundance. So too, your seasons of loss have been heaven's pruning, not rejection. What was cut away was never meant to carry your destiny. The book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 11, speaks of this training. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful later on. However, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. The training ground rarely feels like glory. It feels like emptiness, silence, even abandonment. But Scripture assures us there is fruit, there is harvest, there is peace on the other side. Every hardship has been sowing into your future. Here is another image. Imagine a seed beneath the soil. It is pressed down, surrounded by darkness, hidden from sight. But in that unseen place, life is forming. The shell cracks, the roots stretch downward, And then at the appointed time, the shoot breaks through the ground. You are that seed. The soil of suffering has been pressing you down, but within it, destiny has been germinating. And still another, picture a sculptor working with marble. Every strike of the chisel removes something. To the stone, it might feel like loss, but slowly, the shape emerges. The beauty takes form. The strikes that felt harsh were actually uncovering what was already hidden inside. Your true design is being revealed in this very season. Chosen one, I want you to see your story differently. Stop looking at your scars as shame. Start seeing them as signatures of survival. Each one tells heaven, this one endured. This one still believes. This one can be trusted with more. Now, let me speak tenderly to your heart. If these words resonate, I invite you not out of pressure, not out of duty, but as a beautiful act of connection to let your light be seen. Press like, as if you are saying, Lord, I receive the shaping of your hand. Share this word as though you were passing a torch to another weary traveler, reminding them they are not alone. And subscribe, not as a routine, but as if you are choosing to remain in a circle of fire where chosen ones are refined together. See it not as obligation, but as offering, not as duty, but as declaration. These small actions become lanterns hung along the path, reminders that none of us walk through the training ground in isolation. Together, we form a constellation of light in the night sky. Your life is proof. The training ground has not destroyed you, it has refined you. You are no longer raw metal, but sharpened steel. No longer wild branches, but fruitful vine. No longer hidden stone, but a sculpture of glory. Heaven has trained you for what comes next. And soon, the very trials that tested you will testify of your strength. There are seasons when the fire becomes real, not metaphorical, not imagined, but pressing on every side. The chosen always encounter the furnace, because the furnace reveals what cannot be destroyed. Think of the three Hebrews, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They stood before a king's rage, facing the threat of flames designed to consume. The furnace was heated 7 times hotter, so intense that even the soldiers who approached it perished. Yet when the three were thrown in, something unexplainable happened. The fire did not devour them. Instead, a fourth figure appeared in the flames, radiant and undeniable. What should have destroyed them became the place of encounter. That is courage in the furnace. It is not the absence of fear, it is the refusal to bow. They knew God could deliver them, but even if He chose not to, they would not worship another. That kind of courage terrifies darkness, because it cannot be manipulated. Your furnace may not be fire in Babylon, but you know the heat. The diagnosis that shook your body, the betrayal that pierced your trust, the storm that tested your faith. These are furnaces, places where everything unnecessary burns away, and only what is eternal remains. Here is an image. Imagine gold placed into the crucible. The heat rises, melting away impurities. To the untrained eye, it looks like destruction, but to the refiner, it is beauty. The fire reveals what cannot be touched by corruption. You are that gold. The furnace is revealing your purity, not your weakness. Another image. Consider a phoenix rising from ashes. What looked like death becomes the beginning of flight. Fire does not end it. Fire transforms it. So too, your story is not ending in flames. It is rising with new wings, stronger and brighter than before. As written in the book of Daniel, chapter 3, verse 25. Look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods. This is the mystery of the furnace. You may feel the heat, but you are not alone. There is one who walks with you. The presence of God does not always pull you out of the fire immediately. Sometimes He joins you in it, proving to the world that the flames have no authority over His chosen. Courage in the furnace is not about pretending the fire is pleasant. It is about declaring that the fire cannot define you. What burns away are only the ropes, the chains, the limits. What remains is freedom. Chosen one. Your furnace season is not punishment. It is the proving ground of your faith. The flames are temporary, but the courage forged within them will last forever. And when you walk out, like the 3 Hebrews, the smell of smoke will not cling to you. You will emerge with testimony, with strength, with a presence that testifies of the God who walks in fire. So do not despise the furnace. See it for what it is, a holy place where fear is silenced. Chains are broken, and courage is born. And when others look at you after this season, they will not see scars of defeat, but the glow of glory. They will not see someone burned, but someone brightened. For the furnace does not diminish the chosen, it defines them, proving their light shines stronger than the flames. There are moments when heaven gives a sign, a confirmation so clear that it feels like a seal upon your spirit. You have walked through testing, through fire, through rejection and delay. And yet the Spirit whispers, you are still chosen. You are still marked. Chosen ones are not left in confusion. At appointed times, God releases a signal, an echo in the soul, a prophetic number, a reminder that the journey is not random. Every trial has meaning. Every silence has purpose. Every step is ordered. Think of John on the island of Patmos, exiled, alone, silenced by Rome. Yet heaven opened over him and visions poured forth. What the world called isolation, God used as revelation. What looked like an ending became the birthing place of eternity's promises. And in that revelation came numbers, signs, seals, trumpets, all pointing to divine order that no empire could silence. Here is an image. Imagine a king sealing a decree with his signet ring. The wax hardens. The mark is left, and no one can alter what has been declared. That is how heaven seals its chosen ones. The mark cannot be erased. The signature cannot be stolen. The decree cannot be undone. As revealed in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, verse 12, to the one who is victorious, I will make a pillar in the temple of my God. Never again will they leave it. I will write on them the name of my God. Ein. This is what it means to be marked. You are unshakable, immovable, carrying the very name of the Lord. No enemy can erase it. No darkness can override it. You are sealed, chosen, and destined. Your journey is not just about endurance, it is about identity. Every test you endured was heaven writing its signature upon you. Every tear collected, every battle survived, every furnace endured it all, shouts the same truth. This one belongs to God. And now, I ask you to let your response echo that seal. Comment 12. Why the number 12? Because 12 is the number of divine government, of foundation, of heaven's order. 12 tribes carried Israel. 12 apostles carried the gospel. 12 gates stand in the holy city. Writing 12 is more than digits. It is your agreement with divine order. Your declaration that your life is aligned with heaven's seal. Do not see it as a casual act. See it as a sacred one. With this number, you declare, I am not drifting. I am not forgotten. I am sealed into the order of God's plan, and my life is held in His decree. So carry this truth. The tests were real, but so is the seal. The fire was hot, but so is the flame that now burns in you. You are not random. You are written. You are not lost. You are marked. And when storms rise again, remember the seal. When voices doubt you, remember the decree. When darkness whispers lies, remember the name written over you. This is not about fragile hope, it is about divine certainty. You are anchored in a kingdom that cannot be shaken. The seal is proof that heaven has invested in you. It means your identity is not negotiable. Your destiny is not reversible. And your place in God's plan is unshakable. Let that truth rest deep within you. You belong. You endure. And you carry heaven's signature forever. Every crown begins with obedience, not with applause, not with recognition, but with the quiet, steady choice to follow the voice of God, even when no one else understands. Crowns are not handed to the casual, they are entrusted to the faithful. Think of David again. Before the crown touched his head, there were years of caves, exile, and battles. He had the chance to kill Saul, to take the throne by force, yet he chose obedience instead. He would not lift his hand against the Lord's anointed. That choice cost him time, comfort, and ease, but it preserved his destiny. The crown that came later was not stained with rebellion, but marked by faithfulness. Obedience always precedes coronation. The world may look at crowns as symbols of power, but in the kingdom of God, crowns are rewards of surrender. They are placed not on those who pushed their way to the top, but on those who bowed low before the Lord. Here is an image. Imagine a runner nearing the end of a marathon. The crowd is roaring. The finish line is near. Yet every muscle aches. Every breath feels heavy. The crown of victory is not for the one who ran fastest for a moment, but for the one who kept running until the end. That is obedience, not perfection, but persistence. Another image. Picture a soldier in battle. He has orders that may not make sense in the moment, but he obeys. Trusting the commander sees the larger plan. When the war is won, medals are given not just for victory, but for loyalty. So it is with you. Your obedience in hidden moments is being recorded in heaven as proof of loyalty. The Apostle James wrote in his letter, chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love Him." Do you see it? The crown is not given for mere survival. It is given to the one who perseveres, the one who stands in love, the one who chooses obedience even in trial. Your crown is linked to your choices now. It is tempting to think obedience is small, to pray when tired, to forgive when wronged. to stay faithful when unseen. Yet heaven counts those small choices as weighty. Each one adds to the testimony of your life, preparing you for the crown that awaits. Chosen one. Your crown is not ornamental. It is not for display. It is a symbol of authority, a sign of victory, and a reminder that love triumphed through your obedience. One day, that crown will be placed on your head, not because you never stumbled, but because you never stopped trusting. The story of the chosen has always been this: tested, pressed, refined, yet obedient. And at the end of that journey, there is a crown of life, waiting, shining, certain. So do not despise your obedience. Do not overlook its weight. Every yes to God, every surrender of your will, every choice to follow, even when unseen. These are the jewels being set into your crown. And soon, when the day arrives, you will wear what your obedience has prepared, and heaven itself will declare, "Well done." And in that moment, every hidden choice, every secret sacrifice, every unseen prayer will stand revealed. The crown will not just rest on your head, it will speak of who you became. There is something sacred that rests upon the chosen. It is called the mantle. A mantle is not fabric. It is not cloth draped across the shoulders. It is the visible sign of invisible authority. The weight of heaven laid upon a life. Elijah carried a mantle. With it, he struck the waters of the Jordan, and they parted. With it, he anointed kings and prophets. When his time ended, the mantle fell to Elisha, who picked it up and stepped into double the portion of his master. The mantle is a symbol of continuity, of assignment, of divine trust. When you are chosen, you are not left empty-handed. Heaven clothes you with something unseen but undeniable. People may not recognize it at first, but darkness does. Demons trembled when Paul spoke because they saw not just the man, but the mantle he carried. The sons of Sceva discovered this when they tried to imitate his authority, but carried no true mantle. The Spirit replied, "Jesus, I know. Paul, I know. But who are you without the mantle?" Words are powerless. With the mantle, even silence carries weight. Here is an image. Imagine a torchbearer in the night. Others see only flame. But what truly matters is the fire transferred from one to another. The torch itself is simple wood, but the fire is what gives it purpose. The mantle is like that fire passing from one life to another, igniting purpose that cannot be extinguished. Another image. Picture a king's signet ring, small, perhaps unremarkable in beauty, but it carries the authority to seal decrees, to move armies, to establish law. The mantle on your life is like that ring. It may not look grand to human eyes, but in the spiritual realm, it carries the weight of heaven's government, as written in the first book of Samuel, chapter 16, verse 13. Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed David in the presence of his brothers. And from that day on, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David. Oh, David was still a shepherd boy. He had no throne, nor crown, nor army. Yet from that moment, he carried the mantle. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and though he returned to the fields, he was no longer ordinary. Lions and bears fell before him, and eventually giants did too. The mantle made the difference. So it is with you. You may not feel significant, You may not see a crown yet, but the mantle rests upon you. Heaven has anointed you with purpose. And though others may not yet recognize it, the Spirit within you testifies of it. The mantle is heavy. It attracts battles. It draws opposition. Elisha inherited Elijah's mantle and immediately faced mocking from the crowds and challenges that tested his faith. Carrying the mantle does not make life easier. It makes it weightier, but it also makes it fuller. Chosen one. Your mantle means you are not just surviving, you are assigned. You are not just wandering, you are marked. You carry something the world did not give and cannot take away. The mantle is evidence that God's Spirit rests upon you. So, walk differently, not in pride, but in awareness, not in arrogance, but in reverence. The mantle does not exalt the person, it magnifies the God who gave it. And the world will know you are marked, not because of titles or applause, but because of the undeniable weight of heaven resting on your life. The wilderness is never the end. It is the classroom of kings, the training ground of prophets, the hidden place where heaven prepares its leaders. No one arrives at the throne without first walking through deserts. Joseph dreamed of greatness, yet his road led to pits and prisons before palaces. David was anointed as king, but his crown came only after years of running, hiding, and singing psalms in caves. Even Jesus himself was led into the wilderness before stepping into his public ministry. The pattern is always the same: wilderness first, throne later. It is in the wilderness that faith is tested, motives are refined, and character is forged. When everything comfortable is stripped away, what remains is what truly defines you. The wilderness is harsh, yes, but it is holy. We are reminded in the book of Psalms, chapter 75, verse 6 to 7, no one from the east or the west or from the desert can exalt themselves. It is God who judges. He brings one down. He exalts another. This truth shakes the ground beneath pride. Elevation is not self-made, it is God-given. The wilderness teaches that thrones are not seized, they are entrusted. You cannot shortcut to destiny. You must be shaped for it. Here is an image. Imagine clay in the hands of a potter. The clay spins on the wheel, pressed, reshaped, pressed again. At times it feels endless, as though it will never end. But slowly, form appears. The potter's vision is revealed. That is what the wilderness does. You might feel spun around, pressed from every side. Yet heaven's hands are forming you into a vessel fit for a throne. Another image. Picture a seed in the desert. The sand is dry, the sun relentless, and yet beneath the surface, roots are stretching deep. They search for hidden streams, and when they find them, the plant rises stronger, able to withstand what others cannot. So it is. With your wilderness season, hidden roots are growing. Unseen strength is forming. And when the time comes, the throne is not a surprise. It is the natural outcome of wilderness preparation. Joseph stepped into Pharaoh's palace not as a broken prisoner, but as a man of wisdom. David entered the throne room not as a shepherd lost in obscurity, but as a warrior who had already faced lions, bears, and giants. Chosen one. Your wilderness is not wasted. Every dry place is carving capacity for rain. Every lonely night is teaching you to hear God's voice more clearly. Every trial is sharpening you to carry authority with humility And now, I want to speak softly to your spirit. If this word touches you, let your response be as natural as water flowing downhill, no force, not pressure, just surrender. Press like as if you were lifting your head to the sky, saying, I embrace the wilderness because I know the throne awaits. Share this message as though you were passing bread to someone hungry in their own desert, reminding them they too will see the promised land. Subscribe, not out of duty, but as if you were planting your feet with a family of chosen ones who are walking from wilderness into destiny together. And when you comment, let it be like leaving a stone of remembrance by the river Jordan. Write your words not for obligation, but as a marker that you once stood here in this season and believed one day you will look back and see that this was the moment your wilderness turned into the pathway to your throne. There is a strength within you that storms cannot shake. It does not come from your own willpower or your ability to hold everything together. It comes from the God who built you on a foundation that cannot be moved. Life has already tried to break you. Loss has knocked at your door. Fear has whispered its lies. Yet here you are, still breathing, still believing, still walking forward. That alone is evidence of something unshakable within you. Think of a tree planted by a river. The wind may roar, the storms may rage, but the roots run deep. Branches may bend, leaves may scatter, but the trunk stands. The deeper the roots, the greater the stability. You are that tree. Your roots in God have anchored you beyond the reach of storms. Think of a mountain. It has endured centuries of wind, rain, and erosion. Travelers come and go. Generations rise and fall. Yet the mountain remains. When God speaks of unshakable things, He is pointing to this reality that chosen ones are built to outlast the seasons. The Apostle Paul writes in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 8 to 9. We are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. This is the anthem of the unshakable, pressed, but not crushed, struck down, but not destroyed. The enemy may land blows, but he cannot end what God has sealed. You carry within you a resilience that defies logic. Here is another image. Imagine a lighthouse on the shore. Storms slam against it. Waves crash high. Lightning splits the sky, yet the light never stops shining. Ships far out at sea find hope because one tower refused to fall. You are that lighthouse, even battered, even weary. Your light still guides. And yet, being unshakable does not mean you never feel pain. It does not mean you never question or weep. Even Jesus wept at the tomb of Lazarus. Even Paul admitted despairing of life itself. The difference is not the absence of pain, it is the refusal to let pain define the ending. Chosen one, you have carried more than most, and though you may have bent, you did not break. That is strength the world cannot explain. It is the Spirit's power working in fragile vessels, making them indestructible by grace. Do you realize what that means? It means every battle you have faced has already proven you. Every storm you survived is testimony. You are not fragile glass, you are tempered steel, forged in fire, unshakable in the hands of God. One more image. Consider an anchor dropped into the sea. The waves may toss the ship. Winds may howl. but the anchor holds it steady. Your faith is that anchor. It digs into the bedrock of God's promises, keeping you secure while others drift. So lift your eyes and recognize the truth. You are unstoppable, not because you never fall, but because you always rise. You are unshakable, not because life is easy, but because your foundation is eternal, and nothing in this world, no storm, no enemy, no failure can take from you the strength that heaven has placed within. And when others see you standing after the storm, they will know this is not human resilience, it is divine endurance. What survives in you is proof of heaven's hand. There is a blessing that has been waiting for you, a promise written before time began, a destiny designed before your first breath. This blessing is not fragile. It does not depend on chance or circumstance. It has been preserved, kept in place, awaiting the moment when you are ready to carry it. Throughout your journey, there were times when you feared you had missed it. Choices haunted you. Delays frustrated you. Failures whispered that the promise had slipped through your fingers. Yet heaven has not withdrawn what was written. The blessing was never lost. It was reserved. Think of Israel standing on the edge of the Jordan. They had wandered, struggled, fallen. Yet still the land flowed with milk and honey, waiting for them. The promise did not dissolve in their delay. The blessing waited. Think of Peter after his denial. He had sworn 3 times that he did not know Jesus. Yet on the shores of Galilee, the risen Christ restored him with 3 declarations of love. The blessing of apostleship, of destiny, had not been cancelled. It was waiting to be reclaimed. Here is an image. Imagine a crown placed on a stand in a great hall. Dust gathers, silence lingers, and years pass. Yet the crown does not tarnish. It waits, gleaming, ready for the one whose name has already been inscribed. That is your blessing, untouched by time, kept for you. Shining still, another image. Picture a letter sealed in wax, never opened, preserved in the archives of a king. Génération may pass. Yet when the one it was written for appears, the seal breaks and the words come alive. Your blessing is like that letter, written long ago, waiting to be opened in the fullness of time. The book of Isaiah, chapter 46, verse 11, declares this promise: what I have said, that I will bring about; what I have planned, that I will do. Oh, the blessing is certain because the one who spoke it cannot lie. His word does not return void. His plans are not undone by your weakness, nor by the schemes of darkness. The blessing is anchored in his faithfulness, not your perfection. Chosen one, understand this. The blessing is not merely for you. It is through you. Abraham was blessed, but the blessing flowed outward, touching nations. David was blessed with a throne, but the lineage led to Christ. The blessing entrusted to you carries impact beyond your own life. It is meant to touch others, to shift atmospheres, to mark generations. That is why the battles were so fierce. The enemy was not merely fighting your peace, he was fighting your blessing, because your blessing carries multiplication. Yet every attack that sought to stop you has only confirmed the weight of what is coming. The blessing you cannot miss is not a distant hope. It is near. It is rising like dawn, sure as the morning, unstoppable as the tide. And when it unfolds, you will understand why the fire was necessary. Why the delay was mercy. Why the wilderness was training. Hold this truth close. The blessing is not behind you. It is before you. Not lost, but waiting. Not forgotten, but certain. And when it arrives, the story of your life will testify. Heaven always finishes what it begins. Chosen one. We have walked through the journey together, from the fire to the throne, from the wilderness to the crown, from testing to triumph. And now we arrive at the end of this message, but not the end of your story. Hear this. Heaven has not spoken in vain. Every word you received is a seed. And when seeds are planted, they demand a response. The ground does not stay neutral. It either receives or rejects. Today, your heart is that ground. If these words stirred something within you, let your response be an offering. Not out of duty, but out of love. Press like as though you are lifting a stone of remembrance, declaring, I was here, I heard, I received. Share this message as though you were carrying a loaf of bread to a neighbor who is still hungry, still searching, still wondering if God has forgotten them. Your share may be the very answer they prayed for. Subscribe as though you were choosing to sit at the table of fellowship, saying, I want to remain where the fire burns, where the chosen gather, where destiny is spoken over my life again and again. And when you write your words below in the comments, let it not be casual. Write as though you are inscribing on the tablets of testimony, whether it is a single phrase, a short prayer, or a number of faith. Let it be a declaration that heaven and earth will witness. I choose to step into my calling. This is not just the end of a script. It is the beginning of your next chapter. Step boldly, live faithfully, and carry this truth wherever you go. You are chosen. You are sealed. You are unstoppable.